all are available. Fraser's gash has healed sufficiently, so he's training. He trained yesterday, non-contact. Today he'll be coming into some contact. Ollie Akey's trained most of the week from Monday, so he had his own session on Tuesday, and he's joined in yesterday, and he's involved today as well. So King's back as well. So full headache for me, if you like.
Well, I was just going to ask you about that headache after 3 wins with different players contributing in different ways in each of those victories. How much of the selection headache is that?
I say that in jest. We've got a good group here. They understand that perhaps if they don't play, or even if they're not on the bench, they can come straight in from the stands into the team. I've done that since I started here 9 months ago, so nothing will change in those circumstances. In terms of the selection tomorrow, we've always got to pick a team that we think can win the game. We always go into every game, whether we're home or away, to win it. Our away form backs that statement up. I think we've done very well away from home. It's really pleasing to get the clean sheet at Kings Lynn, and we're going in with good momentum for tomorrow.
Bit of a different week this week with on the back of 2 games in 3 days. If you had to ease off a little bit with the players in training, how have you managed it?
No, well, what we've tried to do is, because there's a lot of change on the physical side in terms of our running stats in games and the intensity of training. Perhaps we lost a couple of players last season due to that, because it was not a new culture but a new way of training, if that makes sense. We train at the same intensity as how we play. The sports science team here do a fantastic job for me and get me all the information I need, and I work close with them daily to make sure we hit certain figures in training, individual figures and unit figures. So that we had a couple of casualties from that last year, but we wanted to build that robustness to that intensity in pre-season. So the last sort of 6-7 weeks in pre-season, it was a lot of physical stuff in terms of, okay, what levels do we want to get to in a game? We've got to train to those levels. So our recovery rate is probably quicker than it has been in the 9 months I've been here. So we were able to train with intensity this week after those 2 games. But nothing crazy. Obviously, we have our recoveries in there as well. But we want to train as much as we can at the same intensity, so it comes natural on a match day.
You mentioned after the Kings Lynn game, giving the players a bit of homework. But what does homework from James Rowe look like?
Nothing too bad. No, it's we always do post-match stuff. Obviously, we review good and the room for improvements on individual objectives and team objectives and unit objectives in terms of what we go into every game. So it's important to finish the loop off on every game, that there's learning that takes place, not just from the players but the staff as well. We're learning all the time. We want to improve. We don't ever want to stand still, no matter where we are in the division and what our win ratio is. So it's important that we review everything and reflect and move forward. But you can overthink things sometimes. So we want to find a nice balance. It's always important that we find a balance in the environment. So there's some fun as well. And the last sort of yesterday and today, leading into Bromley, obviously it's a big challenge for us, and we're taking it very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, for the entire working world, everyone's getting used to working from home from time to time now. I mean, I'm doing this from home right now, but the world of football, I wonder how much that's actually changed in the last 18 months now that there are options, and I guess the technology is there for players to do meetings away from base, and there's not the same necessarily the need to have things all together, whether that then leads to a temptation to do more and to carry more into a week. How you avoid that?
Yeah, I think we've been fortunate that there hasn't been a Tuesday game for the last couple of weeks. We've also got no Tuesday game after this one. So the time frame on the post-match stuff is less stressful. When you go Saturday, Tuesday, or Saturday, Monday, how we did last week, obviously you don't want to focus too much on what's happened, and you want to look forward as quickly as possible for your next challenge. So there needs to be a balance there when the games are quite close. Because we're fortunate we've got next week sort of free, we can relax a little bit on the Sunday, and then obviously feed that back in to individuals and collective units. So yeah, I take what you say on board. We can do a lot on Zoom now, and you can do a lot obviously electronically. You could do that before, but I think it's more acceptable now in terms of what major companies are doing around the world, aren't they? And it's probably a way forward, and less people are going into the office more regular.
How much easier as well is it to get players to take on the messages that you want to after you've started with 3 wins in a row?
Well, different players have different learning styles, so you have to get that information into them in different ways. Some might prefer face-to-face stuff. Some might like the visual stuff. It just depends what our feel and understanding of the individual is. And the most important thing is that they take the things on board, but also they give you feedback as well on their performances. It's both ways, communication, and different players like it different ways.
You mentioned as well that you've been pleased with the way the side are adapting to opponents at the start of this season. How much of that comes down to leadership from the players on the pitch and recognising what's going on in games and being able to adapt to it?
Well, you need to find a nice balance. So you have to respect every opponent. Bromley will bring their own challenges tomorrow, but also the balance needs to be that you have your own DNA and how you want to influence the game. I've really been impressed in both 18-yard boxes this year that we've been ruthless when chances have come, and we've defended obviously the 18-yard box very well so far. But it's only the start. It's only 3 games in. Each Kings Lynn, Willstone and Aldershot brought their own challenges. Bromley will bring a different type of style tomorrow. They're obviously a playoff team from last year, so it should be a cracking game for the neutral and a good advert for the National League. I'm just looking forward to seeing how we stand up to it, and how we can influence it at home, because we've had some good games at home, including the pre-season games, different types of opponents. I want to make sure we can influence it our way tomorrow.
Yeah, and in terms of the way that teams are approaching Chesterfield this season, I know it's a small sample size at this point, but has there been any sort of change in the way that teams are trying to get at you this year?
No, I think that I think I said it last week. I think that we had a similar question in terms of how teams have set up against us. I think at the start of the season that sorry, someone just came into the room. It's early days, so there's a lot of enthusiasm. Teams are sort of playing the way they want to, more so than if they've got something to lose. Perhaps in the latter months of the season where there's positional stakes a little bit higher, I think teams will set up differently and might think a point here will be a good result. I think early doors, a lot of teams are going for the wins, which is credit to each team, and we're exactly the same boat. We want to get wins on the board as much as possible in these early stages and play the way we want to.
As you say, Bromley was strong last season. What have you made of the start they've made this season? I appreciate it's, again, only a couple of games you've had to look at.
Well, they've had a tricky start because obviously they didn't play in the first week of the season. They're unfortunately, obviously, with Grimsby's COVID situation. So they're unfortunate not to open the season at home. And then they've had a difficult game at Dagenham. Dagenham obviously in great form coming from the back end of last year, and they've started really well. So that was a difficult game, but they've backed it up with a bit of adversity with a good win at home to Eastleigh and a clean sheet. So I'm sure they're going to come here full of confidence. We owe them one from last year. The circumstances when they beat us late on, so we know that, and I'm looking forward to the game.
I don't know if anyone's told you. Apparently, this is not my stat. Phil Tooley's come up with this. Apparently, Chesterfield haven't won the first 4 matches of the season since 1954. Now, of course, it's only a start this season, but how much can a start and momentum you can generate at this point in the season carry you forward through what is the marathon of the rest of the campaign?
Well, I don't really look into. Phil's full of stats, isn't he? But stats, so many stats. But no, it's a good stat. But no, we don't. We're not here to achieve new stats and new records for the club. Yeah, they're nice, but we just focus on next opponent, and the players aren't focusing on, okay, if we get the 4th win, it's the first time we've done it since 90. No, that doesn't come into our thinking. It's nice. It's a nice stat, but no, we're just focusing on another 3 points. If we can get another 3 points, we then move on to next week, Dover away. But our full mindsets on our next opponent, which is Bromley. If we can win, that's great. It's a great start in the 4 games. Can we then make it 5? But I think tomorrow will be a good advert for the league. I think it's 2 good teams going head to head early in the season, and I'm pleased with the start. But it's only 3 games.
Yeah, you described your team last time out as efficient. What words would you like to use come 5 o'clock on Saturday?
If we win again and get a clean sheet, we can be efficient every week, no problem. But no, what I meant by that statement was that I felt that we had another gear to go up if necessary against Kings Lynn. I thought because it was a Saturday-Monday game, I thought we used our experience through the spine of our team really well. We pressed it in the right areas and at the right times, and we also recovered really well into our shape and rested in our shape. So I was really pleased with the efficiency, and lastly, obviously, we kept a clean sheet in our 18-yard box. We minimised chances on our goal and efforts against Scott, and when the chances came at the other end, which weren't too many, we were ruthless. So I was pleased.
Thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
Morning, James.
Morning.
Have you been impressed by the way that the team seems to be learning and growing all the time? Have you been impressed by that?
I'm really enjoying working with this group. Their training is impressive. The way they're training, the intensity and the culture of the place, including the staff, is full focus. And results like that, obviously I'm really pleased with the 3 clean sheets and 3 2-0s, but they don't just come. You don't just rock up and play and roll the dice. No, there's a lot of planning that goes in, but first and foremost, the players need to buy into what you're doing, and they've certainly done that. Some difficult decisions in the summer. Some good players and good form went, and some players that came in have shown the supporters early what they're made of, and that bodes well for the future in terms of relationships with the supporters and results on the pitch.
And tactically, they seem to be able to adapt, as you said, to the different situations which have presented themselves this season, don't they?
So far, yes, but there's going to be more challenges along the way. If our form wasn't so good, well, I wouldn't be getting carried away with that. And because our form's been obviously spot on at the moment, because we haven't conceded a goal, it's easy to get carried away. But no, we're not doing that. It's a long, arduous season in the National League in terms of the different types of challenges: Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, the fixture congestion when the cups come in, etc. There's so many challenges to come. I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. It's a really good opportunity for us to go and get that 4th win against a good team, and I always like it when our team's challenged in that way, because you learn so much about individuals and collective units. So really looking forward to what Bromley can bring, and seeing where we are at 5 o'clock tomorrow.
They were obviously in the playoffs last season. Would you expect them to be there or thereabouts again this time around?
Yes. But expectations are dangerous, aren't they? Because if you expect too much of yourselves and others, then either you can fall on the sword, or you're worrying too much energy on other people. You want to focus your energy solely on yourself, and it's not really for me to comment what I think where I think Bromley are going to finish. They've recruited new players. They've got a decent budget there, and a manager that started quite well in his tenure there. So why not? Of course, they can make it, but I'm more focused on ourselves.
It's early days, but do you think it'll be the toughest test of the season so far?
I think that would be disrespectful to the teams we've played. It's early doors. No one knows who's going to finish where, really. People might say, "Oh, you've had an easier fixtures start," but I think that's disrespectful to the teams we've played. Yes, on paper perhaps, because Bromley finished in the playoffs last year, but it's a new season, and everyone's vying for those points in the early stages.
Are you expecting it to be a similar type of game that we saw last season? It was 2 teams going right at it, and it was a bit of a battle, wasn't it, at times?
Yeah, I expect so, because there'll be a good crowd in there tomorrow, which poses a different challenge to any opponent that comes in now. Last year, obviously, there was no crowd in, and they've certainly been the 12th man home and away so far. They've been fantastic, the supporters. So it poses a different challenge for Bromley. But I'm sure they've got enough experience in the team that played in front of big crowds. So that brings a different kind of feel to the fixture. But yeah, I'm expecting a battle. Every game in this division is a battle, but you have to stand up to that, and then obviously your DNA and your patterns of play come out once that battle's stood up to or won.